Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, depending on which part of the world you're watching this broadcast and podcast from. Thank you for your time. I will try and address whatever maximum I can in the time given. My name is Neeraj Arora. Delighted to be here on the TEDx platform at UIT. This talk is very, very special to me for two reasons. One, the topic I'm going to speak on, the confluence of passion and purpose and how to align them. And I think the platform, the location could not have been more appropriate because this Prayagraj is known for the confluence of river Ganga and Yamuna, where the divinity meets the serenity. And second reason is this also happens to be my Janam Bhoomi because I was born here. So, this is very close to my heart, very, very special. I was asked to share my life journey. Now, it's impossible to actually condense your life journey in 18 minutes. But I will try and do as much as I can because I'm also supposed to speak about passion, purpose, and how those things align, how they impacted my life. So I will try and share as much as I can. But if I have to summarize and introduce myself as to what character I am and what I love doing and how I look at life, first and foremost, I love my family and I love my friends and I love spending time with them. After that, the second thing comes is looking after myself. So I'm heavily into well-being, healthy living, mental health. Then I focus on those things. If I have still more time left, then I follow my passion, which started with playing cricket, which was a childhood fashion. I did that, attempted to make it into a career, did not succeed. Then grew up and physical condition didn't allow me to carry on, so I switched to golf. So I'm very, very passionate about watching, following, and playing cricket and golf. And after doing all of this, if I still have some time left, then I do some work to make money. So that's me. So I was asked to share my life journey. So I've already mentioned where it started, my character. On a more serious note, I've spent 35 odd years in media and entertainment industry. My journey actually started by selling furniture. I used to be a door-to-door salesman, selling furniture. From there, I progressed to selling paints. From paints, I went on to selling investments. And from investments, I ended up into a media career by accident. And that's where I ended up spending next 3 decades, which became my core value. And you've already heard what I did. I've spent last 20 odd years with Sony Pictures, the Hollywood studio, building their international business all around the world in over 130 countries. I'm nearly half a century old now. I was born and brought up in this very city. Very, very fortunate that my job offered me an opportunity to travel within the country and then overseas around the world, building businesses for various media networks. So that brings me to the topic which I'm going to talk about, which is aligning of passion and purpose. Now, when you are young, these words don't mean anything. And sometimes, it can take many, many years for you to realize actually what you're passionate about and what is the purpose you're following and what pursuit gives you the happiness. But when I decided what I'm going to talk about, and when I thought of word passion, the best way to explain passion in this country is cricket, because there's nothing more passionate than cricket in this country. And when we talk about cricket, I get reminded of my childhood hero, Mr. Kapil Dev. Now, Kapil Dev is a gentleman who brought the first World Cup to us. That first World Cup victory actually changed our lives because not only the way we play the sport, but the way that sport translated into many other passions, businesses, and today, some of the Indian cricket properties are the largest brands, largest sports brands in the world. And when I'm talking about Kapil Dev, one thing I can't forget, when he came back after winning the trophy in England, he was addressing a press conference and somebody from the press asked him, सर हमारे यहाँ एक से ज़्यादा कपिल देव क्यों नहीं बन पाए, आप इकलौते हैं, आप जैसे और लोग क्यों नहीं हैं? So Kapil Dev, being the witty person he is, and we all know that the language was not his strength, but he was addressing the English audience, so he answered in English when that question was asked. And he said, the reason why there is no more Kapil Dev, sir, is because my mother is too old and my father is dead. So that's Kapil Dev for you. And then reflecting on my journey of passion and purpose, which I can now talk about with some, authenticity. It took me a long time to understand these terms, so don't really bother about if you're not understanding at this stage. At some stage in your life, all of these things will start making sense to you. Right now, the best thing is to go with the flow. Just feel it, carry on, don't worry too much about it. Just listen to this, and one day you will understand all that what I'm saying. My childhood was spent in this city. I have no shame in admitting that I was not the best scholar. Studies was not my strength. I never got excited to go to school. Even when I went to school, I was not the most attentive, and I wasn't the most brilliant scholar in the class. But having said that, from the very early age, I was a very quick learner. And my learning was from observation. And that learning is what helped me through the life. I mean, to give you a few examples, I started driving a car at the age of 11. Now, please do not ask me about the mandates, because you're not allowed to, or you're not supposed to drive a car at the age of 11. You can't even have a driving license at the age of 11. I was always a very curious child. That's another space where my learning came from. Even as a little kid, if I was given a toy, when I was on my own, when nobody was watching, I would actually break open the toy, because I wanted to learn कि चलता कैसे है और क्यों चल रहा है. So I was a very curious child. I was also very good at my social skills. Even as a 15-year-old, 12-year-old, 11-year-old, I could have a proper engaging conversation with people who were much older than me. And I could have a proper logical argument with them, although they were 20, 30, 40 years older than me. The reason why I'm mentioning all of these things is because, by all means, studies and education is the most important part. So please do not misunderstand, and not for a minute I'm trying to convince anyone that education is not important. Because in hindsight, I also realized how important education is. But at that age, I did not. And it's all the other things which actually added up to a lot of things which helped me accomplish and succeed in whatever I went on to do for next 35 odd years. So if I have to summarize all of this, I would say I wasn't the best scholar. I'm not the most intellectual person around, but I'm a simple man with a lot of common sense. And in day-to-day life, when you're trying to build things, build careers, trying to accomplish something, you will realize that as much as the skill set and the expertise are required, but a common sense actually gets you through equally as much. So remember that. And because I learned all of these skills very early age, I was also very, very keen on how to implement them. Because as I mentioned earlier, I was a very curious child. I still am, actually. There is still a curious child inside me. So, one would think that how did these things happen? Because as I said, if you can't do it yourself, then how does it work? The way it works is sometimes you have to allow things to happen. This passion, the purpose, sometimes they're connected. Sometimes purpose comes first and passion follows. Sometimes you become passionate about something and that becomes your purpose. So that's why it's important to leave it a little fluid and have that flexibility. Be prepared to accept the change. Adapt what life throws at you. Because if you work on a set plan And if things don't go to plan, that is what leads to disappointment, distress, stress, all kinds of mental health issues, frustration, all of that. So that's why it's very, very important for you to allow enough flexibility, enough leeway, enough room that if one thing doesn't go to plan, there is something in store which you can still explore. So when and how did this enlightenment happen to me? Or when did I find out the relevance of these things, that whether these two things are relevant or connected to each other, and how they are connected to my life, or how is it relevant to me? Is there a eureka moment? No. So if you're always constantly looking to find out these things, thinking that one day the ting moment will happen, it doesn't happen. It doesn't work like that. Okay? So there's no alarm bell. Apple is not going to fall on your head if you go and sit under the Bodhi tree in Gaya thinking something will happen. No, it doesn't work like that at all. So what to do? How do you figure out? How do you find your passion, or how do you find a purpose to life? And how do you sort of find relevance of these things? The important thing to understand is there is no age and there is no stage of life. And hence, you have to be a seeker all your life. If you're fortunate enough, some of these things may happen at a very young age to you. Sometimes you may have to wait a little longer. And that's how life goes. That's nature. That's the nature of the beast. So then the question is, if there is no ting, if there's no alarm bell, then what to do? How to live life? So I can only share my experience with you, and I can only share what I did, and I believe it worked for me. You will have to find your way. I can only share. You can only get inspired by other people's experiences. You can learn a few things from other people's accomplishments and success. Don't try to make that your formula. Because just because something works for one person or in one situation, it does not mean that it will work for you or in your situation. So that's why take a little bit from those things. Try and understand the principle and the fundamentals of why it worked for somebody else in some other situation. And then try and apply that principle and the fundamental. Don't copy that formula. वो हिंदी में बोलते हैं ना, अकल नकल के लिए भी अकल चाहिए होती है. So copy मत करो, थोड़ा सा अपनी अकल लगाओ उसमें. Use lot of common sense. Nature tells you a lot of things. So if you just focus on few things, trying to find your core. You know, it was said earlier, यहाँ से आवाज आती है. वो actually आती है. It's just that you have to pay attention to it, because in the busy daily lives and hustle bustle, we don't pay enough attention to ourselves. You know, when I was listening to some of the earlier speakers, I almost felt cheated, because some of the things I'm going to talk about, they've also already mentioned bits of it and some nuts and nuggets of it. But then I realized that, you know, the reason there are so much resonance in what each one of our speakers are going to speak today is because these are all the people who have followed the same fundamental, the same thing which I just mentioned. So that principle and fundamental has worked in these people's life. That's why, you know, they are so-called successful people, or they've accomplished something in life. So listen to your inner voice, listen to yourself, and then also find your skill, your core. As I mentioned, you know, somebody may be very good at studies, so by all means pursue, follow, study, you know, become academician. If that, you know, interests you, build a career out of it. But if somebody finds that something else works for you, gives you happiness, that is what actually excites you, try and experiment to see, is it good enough for you to feel passionate about it? Do you think it will give you a purpose where you can spend next 30, 40, 50 years of life doing that or enjoying that? And then decide what you want to do. Be flexible. Be prepared for the change. You may have to experiment. Just because somebody else found their formula on the first hit, that is not the formula. Some people have to have 3 goes at it. Some people have to have 10 goes at it. And as I said, there is no age, there is no stage. Some people may have that very young, some people may take a little longer. And it's fine, you know. When it doesn't go to plan, do not overanalyze, do not overthink. Sometimes we spend too much time trying to understand why it went wrong. Things can go wrong. Such is life. Everything does not go to plan. It's not your fault. You have to have faith in your ability. You have to have faith in that outer force. You have to have faith in your support system. You have to have faith that bigger things and beyond cannot be done alone. You do need other people. You do need other resources. If you can just learn how to align those things, your passion and purpose will automatically and naturally start to align. So be prepared. Introspect with yourself. Talk to yourself. It's very important. A lot of us are always seeking help outside, because when something doesn't go to plan, when something goes wrong, you think, let me go to an expert. Just spend that little bit of extra time thinking, what did I do wrong? Rather than going and asking someone to say, can you please tell me what I did wrong? Just spend a little bit of time trying to think, did I do exactly what I was supposed to do? Or maybe I did not give my 100%. Maybe I was not in the right frame of mind when I was trying to do it. Let me attempt again. As I said, maybe the circumstances have changed now and things will become different for you. Each incident, each experience, each encounter of your life will give you a new dimension. It will give you a new way of looking at the same situation differently. And that itself provides a solution sometimes. Sometimes when you approach the same situation, I'm very conscious of using word problem. You may have realized that I've not used the word problem in my talk. So that is why if you just spend a little bit of more time with yourself, analyze the situation, look at it again, and sometimes when you look at it with a fresh piece of angle, the new lens with a new dimension, you may find a solution yourself. You don't need to go to somebody else. So then the question is, what is the thought? What should one do? How to pursue, how to find relevance of these things, how to align your passion and purpose. So the thought I'm going to leave you all with is, first of all, let things happen. Once you find your passion, be sincere towards it. Being passionate is nothing but being sincere in whatever you're trying to do. Passion sounds like a very heavyweight word. Actually, it's very simple. If you are sincere in whatever you do, you will become passionate over a period of time. Talking about purpose, the same thing applies there. Something which you enjoy doing, something which gives you happiness, something which gives you gratification in some form, eventually you will find that that also becomes your purpose. And it's not a race. These are not complementary words. Sometimes purpose will come first and passion will follow, and sometimes vice versa will happen. So be prepared, be open, and finally, all I would say is, व्यस्त रहें, मस्त रहें और स्वस्थ रहें. Thank you.